Welcome back to the Tydirium Hanger. This is Mike. I'm coming at you with another video. This time I want to talk to you about the retro collection, and I want to talk about, well, I'm going to do a comparison. Retro collection versus vintage carded. And I haven't seen anyone else do that before, so that's why I'm doing it. But the other thing is, I do want to get a closer look at this gun. Now, these figures are from my friend, Trey. We both went to Target on Sunday morning, and there was only one set, so he got it. Anyway, I'm going to share my beliefs about the retro collection. I know I've been kind of negative, but I actually have some positive beliefs I can share here a little bit. And before we get into this, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more great content. And please press a like, because likes make me think, hey, this is the kind of content you want, so I'll make more of it. So let's move right into looking at this Tarkin figure. So this Tarkin figure looks like what you would expect from a vintage. He does seem a little smaller than you would expect, but right in line with kind of a vintage style type figure. I'm actually pretty pleased with it. Really sad you have to spend 20 bucks for $10 of it as a game that nobody wants. The vintage game can be bought for $10 on eBay already, so why would you want this new version? But let's get this gun out and have a look at it. So the first thing you're going to notice about this gun is how shiny it is. And then if you put the vintage one right below it, and let's get a good look at that. They look almost exactly the same. The main difference is it's got like a sheen, almost looks like it's painted, but it's much shinier than a vintage one. Oh, sliding around, it's hard to see. It's much shinier than a vintage one. And let's also look at it like this. Can we see that? But anyway, they look very, very similar. Here's another look at the gun. Now I can tell you that it's going to be, just like I said, it's going to be almost impossible to tell on a eBay auction, and maybe even out in the wild when you're just running around looking for figures, whether it's vintage or not. Now, the good thing is, like, this standard blaster is not worth a whole heck of a lot, but this is an issue. Okay, so the first one I want to take a look at is the Luke Skywalker. There's the front. You're missing all of the extra little writing at the bottom that you have on this one. And of course, I don't like the weathering. They got rid of the white box, so lots of differences. The ages 4 and up is moved over here where the white box was. So definitely you could tell some differences. Let's look at the back of the card. Now we know this is a 6-back. And so looking at the back of the card, that's a 12-back. This features vehicles. This one does not feature vehicles. This is obviously retro collection. So they made it very distinguishable. Also, the weathering, I'm not a fan of that. You're buying a brand new card bag, a brand new figure, it should look brand new. I understand. As a vintage collector who wants to pick these up, I still don't like that. I think they did that to quote unquote protect the vintage collector or whatever, but I still am not a fan of that. The old UPC, which is, or the proof of purchase or whatever, not the UPC, but proof of purchase, that is super cool. They left that off too. And of course Disney and Hasbro. I mean, it's sort of killing the whole fun with that, but it's still cool. It's still a cool figure to have. It's still a cool card bag. And it kind of harkens back to, or slightly resembles. And I gotta tell you, I actually would prefer if they went with like what they did with all the other steps. And you're gonna see some of the Empire and Jedi here in just a second. Now my 12-back has an extra bubble on it. It was like a manufacturing defect. And a fun story, I ended up buying this off my friend Trey, who's loaning me all these. So, but I do wanna show, look how much whiter the new one is, figure, than the old one. And the colors looked way different in pictures. The only thing that looks way different is this guy is like real shiny, and the hair is super yellow. Like, I've never seen a vintage figure with that yellow of hair. But in the end, they did a pretty good job. It looks pretty good, and it's really gonna be hard to, if you see this in like a bin of figures, to know that it's the retro collection versus vintage. but still pretty cool. Next, I want to compare the Leias, and first thing I want to say, without being able to take the gun out of the package, which I don't want to, the guns look spot on, same, probably has the same glossy situation, and the figures themselves look very, very similar. Now, I've looked at pictures online of loose comparisons, and again, it's going to be hard to tell the difference. They have just a much glossier finish to it, but even sealed in the package, this is a 20 bag, and she's a lot yellower. This is much whiter and kind of yellow. I don't know if that's natural yellowing. I know that mine aren't exposed to light at all. I blacked out my collection room, and it's pitch dark 90% of the time. But the card back itself, this one, since it's a 20 back, has that Boba Fett. Now, I don't like those. I really don't. And if you notice, my buddy's peeled off all of his stickers too. He peeled off all his retro stickers as soon as he got home because, well, they peel off. And he says it took him like 5 minutes total. It wasn't very long. But looking at the top here, it's going to be a lot different than a 12 back anyway. Mine's got a huge chunk missing out of it. It's just price you pay for budget collecting, right? Didn't want to pay $1,000 for it. I got it for 50 bucks. So there's some messed up. This is all the same as the other one. I do like price tags. Somebody paid $2.44 for this one day. Long time ago. The picture color on the picture looks different a little bit. And I mean, it's just different. And of course, missing the writing down here. Every one of these retro collection 6-backs have the same card back. I do want to show you, this is the 20 back, and I like the 20 back look a lot better because, well, not a lot better. I'm just saying I like the progression of it. And I feel like we should have done this with Vintage Collection. It should have started at VCO1, and it should have moved to where we're at now, and just had the whole card back started moving along this direction till we got to where we were with like the 92 bag and move in that direction. Of course, we would have had a 200 bag by the time Vintage Collection's done. Okay, so looking at this Han Solo, now mine's on an Empire card, and I don't have 12 back on everything. And I understand this guy's kind of expensive to get these days on a 12 back. He actually has a little, you can stand him up on his own there on the vintage one. But this again has something goofy covering a picture, which now you don't have to look at that. I'm gonna leave that little phone call in there. That's another waste of a time phone call, like some sort of selling some nonsense. But if you don't have a landline anymore, I guess you don't have to deal with that. But anyway, so moving into this Han Solo versus Han Solo and Empire, and of course it's all the same things with the way the warnings and ages 4 and up and all those things have about the same. Same as the other ones, comparisons and stuff. And then looking at the card back, here we are into, yeah, this one looks weird. I guess some kid highlighted out his stuff. You know, I got my stuff for cheap, so what can I say? But I really wish we would go along this route. And I hope Retro Collection, I guess, was the only thing that's going to go along that route. But I wish the Vintage Collection, or yeah, the Vintage Collection would have gone that route. It would have been awesome. Next up, we have Chewbacca. And I want to notice that the Chewbacca figure himself is a little darker than the vintage one. And of course, it's got that gloss to it that the vintage ones didn't have. Like a higher gloss, and vintage is more of a matte finish. And this has, again, I don't know if that thing was a sticker or not. I think by the time Jedi came along, they started using actual stickers and not just printing it. So that's interesting. Same differences, except, you know, this says Jedi versus this one here. And the bowcaster, now, I think the bowcasters are pretty spot on. It's just the coloring that would be different. And of course that sheen. Here is the back of Chewbacca. And the back of Chewbacca. Now, I love this. This is what I really remember from collecting. When it got to Jedi was when I was in Star Wars the most. The other movies, franchise, the first 2 movies, I was too young to really be into it. So by the time Jedi hit, I was super into it. And that card back means the most to me. And I really wish they would go all the way with this to the, you know, the 65, the 77, the 92 back. And they could still do it. They could still do it. Like the next wave of Vintage Collection should have this. But I guess we're gonna do that in retro. Next up, we're going to compare the Stormtrooper. Now, the big difference, you can see how much whiter the Stormtrooper looks than the other Stormtrooper. It's not so much that the Stormtrooper itself is yellow on mine, my Empire card. It's that the bubble has yellowed. And so when the bubble yellows, everything behind it looks more yellow. But I'm sure if you pulled them out of the package, like I opened both of them side by side, the new one would be whiter. It does look like the head's a little whiter on the new one. And it also, well, it all looks good, actually. I really think that they should do some sort of a 6-pack for like $40 or something. Like a really good deal so that people can troop build these. They can fill out armies of them. This is an opportunity for them. They should do a massive army building 6-pack of Stormtroopers. I don't think they could produce enough. They could produce 10 million Stormtroopers. Every one of them will sell. Because of the fact that people want a troop build, an army build. And $10 each is still pretty stiff. Like they made a KO of the Stormtrooper a while back that you could have gotten on eBay. But yeah, that's pretty stiff. Here's the back. Looks good. Mine's got a rip in it. But this, it's just really cool how they have like the 41 back looks a certain way. I miss that. I do. I really don't like the way the card backs look these days. So next, let's get into the Vader comparison. Now my Vader is just one of those where I had an open card back and I put a figure in it. You know, you can buy a card back for, you know, $50, $100 or something. Put your figure in it versus spending, you know, $1,500 to $2,000 to buy a 12 back that's sealed. So it looks good on my shelf, and I've got 2 others. I got like an Empire and a Jedi, or 2 Jedis or something sealed. But looking at this, same situation with other 12 backs. This missing the box, ages 4 and up's moved over here. The writing down here is gone, and the UPC. And looking at the actual figure, I mean, they just look so close. Like they did a really good job copying. And I do want to point out the, if you can see that, the slight color difference in the saber, and it's like a deeper, almost orange. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Let's get a close up on that saber color difference. Focus. Let's look at the backs. And as you see, about the same differences in the back that we've been seeing. We've probably been seeing Leia the whole time too. But again, fun. Okay, so we have a Tarkin card back here, and I'm disappointed in the fact, yes, you have to buy the game to get it. Nobody really wants the game. But maybe they did it thinking that, hey, that would be fun. Maybe a lot of kids played the game. I never saw the game when I was a kid. I didn't even know it existed. So it has no meaning to me whatsoever, and I believe most collectors feel the same way. But let's get into another little discussion about the future of retro collection, and I don't really want them to rehash all of the vintage figures. Now, I think a lot of people want that, but I want more Tarkins. Like, this is the best thing about retro collection. This is what takes retro collection and makes it worthwhile. I just wish I would like another run of these that didn't have the beat up look to it, because we never got a Tarkin. So it can't truly be like a retro remake of something that we've never had. So that's one issue. The other issue is I want them to make the unreleased figures. There's a couple of them that Kenner had planned. Like, I think it was like the that 6-breasted dancer and then a droid. But I would love them to make those. And I'd love them to make figures they just never made before. I think the droid was the one you see in the Purchase of the Droids, in front of the Sandcrawler. It's one of those droids. But if we could go that route, that would be awesome. The other thing I want to say is that I've heard so many people complain about 5 POA figures, and yet people are losing their mind over these retro collections, and they're only 5 POA. So what's the point of that? Like, why is that such a big deal? I never cared about Super Articulated because I never opened them. And I thought it would be cool. Okay, cool, I find one for a quarter at a garage sale and it's Super Articulated. That's nice. It makes a nice display. Whatever. My kids have fun playing with it. But for me personally, this is how I enjoy my Star Wars figures, on the card back on my wall. And so whether they have 72 points of articulation or 5, I enjoy them the same. So that whole, I think, are we going to hear the end of people complaining about 5 POA figures? Maybe not. Another one of my collector buddies said, hey, take all of the stuff that doesn't sell, that you're trying to clearance out for $1.99 at Walmart for Star Wars, whether it be the new movies or original trilogy, which we know original trilogy sells like 10,000 times to 1 versus original trilogy versus new movie characters. But if you were to put those, just take them all off the lousy card backs that they put out these days and put them on a vintage style card back, the same figure, and put them back out for $10, they would all sell. That's an interesting theory. I'm not sure if that would work 100%. But anyway, let me know what you think about the retro collection. I want to hear thoughts if you think that if you love it, you hate it, if you want more of it, and if you just want them to keep making just what they had and make that first 96 and before you make anything else, or would you rather see new figures made first or integrated as we go? But don't forget to like and subscribe, and Tydirium Hanger out.